Hey guys, Justin here from CBI and Prinsu. Today we're working on a 2022 Toyota Tundra. We're going to show you how to install the Prinsu rack. Stay tuned. All right, so first step is we're gonna get everything unpacked and laid out. Now this is fitment for the Crew Max on the 2022 Tundra, but whether or not you have a panoramic sunroof, regular sunroof, or no sunroof, this is gonna be your rack. It's gonna fit all of those models. So get everything unpacked and kind of laid out how it's gonna install. We went ahead and laid out all our hardware here. Now I'm gonna start prepping them all with our Vibrotite Loctite. Once we get all that done, then we'll start assembling this down here. Then we'll go to the truck and get our measurements. All right, so our next step after we've got all the hardware prepped is we're gonna install about 3 crossbars to the side rails, just to keep it kind of lightweight, because we're gonna install those, then put it on the truck, kind of mark our layout for drilling, and then come back down here. So when we come back down here, then we'll install all of them, but for now, we'll just do one towards the back, one in the middle, and one in the front. And we're gonna install them with our T30 Torx bolts. They're the longer of the black hardware, and these crossbars install on the smaller slots on the side rail. So I'm using an impact, but it's turned down to its lowest setting. So just be really careful that you don't over tighten these or cross thread these, because this is aluminum and you could break hardware in there or strip it out fairly easy. So just be careful getting those bolts started by hand, then use a tool to tighten them down. All right, so our next step is we're at the vehicle towards the back of the cab, and we have this black colored weather stripping right here. So what we're gonna do is measure from the end of that forward 1.25 inches, and we're gonna make a mark on either side. That'll give us our indication where the roof rack's gonna sit towards the back. So once we mark both sides, then we'll get the roof rack and mark the rest of our holes. All right, so now we're set up. We're gonna drill on our 1.25 inch mark on each side. And what that's gonna do is we'll get drilled, get our plus nut installed back here. Then we can set the rack up, loosely install it on these 2 holes, and that'll really lock it into place. So when we mark our other holes, we'll be very accurate. So what we're doing here is I'm gonna drill an 1/8 inch hole just as a pilot. Don't go too deep, just enough to pierce through that first layer of steel. And then I'm gonna take the 7/8 hole saw, and I'm gonna come in, and we just want the hole saw to take out this foam to allow the spacer to sit flat against the metal surface. So this is something you want to be very, very careful with. And if you don't feel comfortable with the hole saw, you can just get a utility knife and just cut out, you know, a decent sized square in this foam to allow that spacer to sit nice and flat. So we're not cutting any steel with this. We're just simply getting rid of the foam. So be extra, extra careful. Our final drill bit size is going to be 3/8 of an inch. So that's what we're working towards. Like I said, starting out with 1/8, then we'll go hole saw, and then we'll come to this guy. All right, so with our hole drilled, now we're gonna install the plus nut on the rear of each side. So how we do that is we take the longer bolt that comes in your kit. This is a 2.5 inch long, 1/4-20 bolt. We're gonna take a washer, put it on there, and then the hex coupler also that came in your kit, as well as another washer, and then the plus nut. So make sure you run this plus nut all the way to where it's snug up against this other washer, and then you're gonna take a 1/2 inch wrench, hold that hex coupler, and then you're gonna turn the top of it with a 7/16 socket. So what that's gonna do is that's gonna pull this tightly and mushroom that on the inside of the cab, making a really solid surface to mount to. Before we put it in though, we're gonna take black RTV silicone and we're gonna seal this surface right here so that when that goes in, it's kind of dispersing that RTV and making a really great seal. We'll seal it up a lot more when it comes to the spacer install, but we definitely wanna seal that surface before going in. So this is 1/4 inch, so don't over tighten this. Just get it to where you're good and snug, where that is compressed. Okay, so once that plus nut is compressed on each side, we can go ahead and set the rack up here. We started a bolt in that hole on each side, and also kind of jump down and really get dialed in your left and right orientation, make sure the rack looks straight. And now we're gonna go ahead and mark all the holes. We'll take this off and we'll drill and install the plus nuts the same fashion we did these back ones. Okay, so now that we have everything drilled, we have all the plus nuts in, so now we're gonna get the rack back up here and get everything silicone to get our spacers in place. So we're using the same black RTV silicone, and we have our spacers kind of staged up here so we're not kind of going back and forth. But what we're gonna do is fill that entire hole with a big blob of that RTV silicone, and then we're just gonna smush this spacer down into there. So what that'll do is just create a lot of sealed up area, and then when you thread your bolt in, the center of the hole will also be sealed. So we'll get everything kind of loosely hand tight, and then we'll jump back, get our alignment, and then we'll come back and tighten it all down. All right, so we got all the spacers in, everything's siliconed up really well. We got all our bolts started, so now we're gonna snug them all up. We have our alignment, we're good there. Just be careful not to over tighten these. Again, they're going into a 1/4 inch nutsert, so just get it good and snug. Then we'll get our remaining crossbars installed and the wind deflector, be good to go. All right, so last thing we're gonna do is get the wind deflector ready to go. So we take our silver crossbar and we slide in the T-nuts. Just make sure you put the threaded side facing down. And then I just kind of hold the wind deflector in front of it just so you can kind of eyeball and get everything lined up. And then we'll set it on, get all the bolts started, then come back, tighten them all down, and then we'll get our noise reducing trim on. Hey guys, that sums up today's install tutorial of the Prinsu Roof Rack on the 2022 Tundra. Don't forget to like and subscribe to see more install videos like this. Thanks for watching.